My name is Quincy Kennedy from QuincyKennedy.com. Today we're with Jay Wayne for the behind the scenes, in the trenches interview. What it looks like getting dirty in our ministry. Jay Wayne, you're very new to the industry, the Christian hip hop scene, and what you're doing in your ministry. And as you know, as young leaders, it takes time to get that platform that we're looking for to really spread our ministry to make that impact. I like to call it the trenches. We're in the trenches. We're taking time to, again, gain our audience, really make an influence. You're in the trenches right now. What have you learned while you've been in the trenches?
Well, being in the trenches in this music industry, it's a marathon. You know, if you think you're gonna get in and just sprint to the top, or it's not gonna happen. You might as well stop right now before you waste all this money and waste all your time. You know, it's a marathon. You have to have a plan in place, a team in place, and just consistency is what I learned. Being consistent, even if you have a show for 5 people, 10 people, or a show with 200 people, you got to give it your all. Either way, you have to prepare for this small little concert as if it was the grand stadium, you know, whatever it is. You have to prepare that way mentally. You have to be ready.
Like it was Madison Square Garden.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I couldn't get it. You have to prepare, man.
That's cool, man. And I appreciate that. So since you've been in the trenches and you've been learning and growing, how has failure made an impact?
I failed a lot in many different areas, you know, but it taught me. It's well, don't do it that way. Alternate it that way. You know, it basically failure just taught me to learn from it and do it a different way. And sometimes I did it the other way and still failed on that one. You know, I was like, oh, that's 2 I got under my belt. You know what I mean? But eventually I get it because I learned if you dig and you dig and you dig for the information, for the knowledge, you will find it. I mean, man, like God blew me away in this area where it was something that I needed to know or learn. And I just digged and I didn't find it. Maybe for even a whole year I didn't find it, but God put people around me. You know, I eventually met someone that taught me what I needed, and it was right on time.
That's good. So being in the trenches, you talked about your failures. What are some of those specific failures that you've learned from?
Well, failure was how to contact music industry businessmen or, you know, people in the music industry. You know, I learned how to conversate with them, how to contact them, what's the right way. You know, I give the world a little tip with this one. A church, if you're a Christian artist and you want to contact the church, but you have some kind of label supporting you, churches want to hear from you.
That's good.
They don't want to hear from your label. That's more of a personal. Now, when you want to contact the radio stations, a lot of people think independent artists think that they can just get to the radio station. You know how many singles they get on a weekly basis? You know what I mean? It's no. You know what I mean? Unless you just like, it's a demand for you. You got to have a label or some kind of rep, or A&R contact them. They will listen to them more.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that's just one of the things I learned because I did it both. I did it the way I try to. Nah, it's not happening. Get your stuff mastered, or the radio won't play it.
That's awesome. So being in the trenches, and when we're first starting out building that platform, a lot of us have to start off with work. Some of us young leaders who are in school or working a 9 to 5, then we come home from school or come home from our jobs, and then we got to plug into maybe the family life, taking care of kids, or plugging in, giving the time to our wives, whatever it is. How have you been able to manage your time productively where you're able to get into the trenches, build those relationships, at the same time getting done what you need to get done with your ministry?
It's rough, man. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But it's rough. I worked a 3rd shift factory job, and I'll work my 8-hour shift, get off at 6 o'clock in the morning, come to the studio while everybody's asleep, try not to wake nobody up, and do my recording. I mean, you got to get it usually when you get out of work, most of the time you just like that second wind.
Yeah.
You know, and then the motivation of getting my stuff done because I'm so tired of this factory. You know, that's motivating. You know, I'd say every teenager need to work in a factory so they can just get some motivation to start their own. But I would come home, do the recording stuff like that, write or whatever I need to do, and I'll knock it out at that time. You just got to have a set time that you do it and don't let nothing stop it. And then anywhere else, like I would be riding, I would be driving, and the inspiration hit me. Boom, I'm getting it then. You know, if it's just jotting down the idea and then develop it later. You know, around the clock, it don't stop. You know, yeah, that's what it is, man. And some people might feel like, man, you know, you gotta balance life. You got a family. Sometimes you gotta know when to cut it. You gotta know when to cut it. But now things has been getting a little better where I can just kind of focus on the ministry, but it sure didn't start out that way.
Right. Absolutely. It's that 24/7 hustle, that grind to get it in, man. That's so good. So being, again, in the trenches, the nitty-gritty of our ministry, right, when we're beginning to build our platform, a lot of times we hear it's not what you know, but who you know. Kind of getting your foot in the door, networking, if you will. How have you built your network, and what was it like in the beginning, looking for those individuals to even get a team going, or maybe plug in with the right people to get that performance? What did that look like for you while you were in the trenches?
My network was 3 people. 3 people, man, but I utilized them. You know, I knew it was a couple people in my church, basically, and one guy was a writer. And so I gave all my whatever I wanted written up, whether it was blogs or whatever, helped me develop some stuff. He was my writer. The other minister was a lawyer, so I had him giving me legal advice. But he was an attorney, and so I think that was pretty much it. I had about 2. Another one was a artist, and so whenever I needed that high feature, he jumped on board, and I just worked that. I'm talking about for 5 years. Just work them, you know what I mean? And they was down with me, so it wasn't a hassle to get with them. And then, and if you keep pressing, and then you know you get with the social media. Once I hopped onto that, it was like, oh, okay, know some sites where all the people are at that do what you do, and make sure you got a good product. So when you share with them, you know they down with you, because ain't nobody gonna jump on you know, if you ain't ready. Right. You got a weak product. Nobody really want to get onto that. But yeah, so it just built from there. When I got a hold to those sites where people at, and the social media sites, it built. And now it's like the team is probably, I would say about 10, 15 people. Nice. You know, team that I can go to a feature. I got about a handful of features I can get. People that I know.
Leaders you can count on.
Yeah, and then as far as writers, it's up to about two or 3 now versus that 1.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the record label.
Nice.
That's a big jump, you know what I mean?
Run.
I met a brick wall, you know, trying to market and trying to reach out. I was at a brick wall. I was like, man, I can't go no further. Got a hold to the label, and man, it was all gravy from there, and they take it to the next level.
That's good. One thing I heard you mention was social media, and when you talk about social media, where we are now, this generation, social media, to me, is resources. You said the website, seeing where people, the most of the traffic is being ran, and I see that as resources. What kind of resources have you grasped onto to build that platform for yourself?
I use the ones that's out there, Twitter, if that's what you mean, Facebook. I just jump on where everybody at, because, you know, I have a ministry, and I'm trying to bring in people, and it's just another angle to use it, so I got to go where the people at. Absolutely. And so I use those, and I try to utilize them the right way, to make a big impact. Yeah.
Now, adding on to resources, now that's how you're kind of branding yourself, building that platform, connecting with your followers. What about resources for personal growth? In the trenches, in the beginning, we need to really be growing, really honing into the science of our ministry, if you will. Yeah. So what resources have you grabbed from there? Books, podcasts, what are you into? I got a couple books I read. I'm not really a big book reader, especially a novel reader. Nah, I'm good. But when it comes to learning something, I jump on John Maxwell. I got put on too. Okay. Michael Hyatt. Absolutely. I've been
I just got turned on to these people, you
Okay.
know, and so it's they've been a blessing to me, you know.
Absolutely.
Dave Ramsey on so many different levels,
Absolutely.
you know, in this whatever, I guess whatever ministry you're going into, you gotta have your finances right.
Absolutely.
Got to. That's key. There's so many people that just go broke,
Yeah.
you know, don't manage it right. So Dave Ramsey is a big one there.
That's good. Yes. Love Dave Ramsey myself. Big fan of Dave Ramsey and his daughter Rachel Cruz, as well as Michael Hyatt and John Maxwell. So very cool you mentioned those guys, man. So wrapping it up, you've also talked about when we mentioned networking, we kind of went into the resources, but also networking. How important is it to have that team?
You gotta have it. It's kind of detrimental. It's very important. I can't even emphasize it enough because I try to be that one man show, that one man team, and I did it all. And it's good to know it all because whatever you having somebody else do, you know what you want. You know how to. If they're doing it wrong, you can tell them. You know, and so, but you get wore out. You get stretched thin, you get tired, and you could be putting that into what you really do, all that energy into writing or whatever you do. And so you gotta have a team. And plus, when you get a roadblock or a mental block, the team is giving ideas.
Yeah.
You know, it's so many heads, and I'm talking about having a quality team, a good team that's everybody's intelligent in what they do.
Yeah.
You know, and so they can. It's just a big blessing, man. The fellowship. The quality of product that you get from the end of it, you bring a product to the team and they refined it and you never knew it could be on that level.
Absolutely.
And you gotta have a team, man.
Yeah, that's so good. Man, with Jay Wayman, I appreciate you once again being behind the scenes,
No doubt.
the in-depth ministry. And so with that, man, I just appreciate you. Keep it up.
Yes, sir.
And I look forward to being in the trenches with you.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
Let's get it.